School is something that we must all embrace. Knowledge we need to seek out and chase. Subjects and teaching styles are plentiful and vary, just like the backpacks we all need to carry. Sports, school, clubs, and activities at every single turn. So much to do, study, and learn. To get the most from school, we should constantly attend. Around each corner, there's always a friend. Our favorite teachers are friendly and kind. Their passion and job to expand every mind. School is something we must all embrace. Just remember to learn at your own pace. That is retrieved from antipoems.com. Hi, I'm your host, Valerie Bogar, and this is Insight. Insight is a lively, insightful television show discussing today's issues with a youthful slant. And today's topic is called Helping Our Children Succeed. In order for our children to become successful and productive members of our community, we need to have a collaboration of parents, students, teachers working together to make this happen. Our guest for this episode is Mrs. Keisha Covington-Thomas, who is an intensive reading specialist at Choctaw High School, and also Mrs. Maria Linda Gamboa, who is a Spanish interpreter at Pryor Middle School for ELL, or also called English Language Learners. So how about, we'll start with you, Ms. Keisha. How about you talk a little bit about what you do at Choctaw High School?
Well, this is my 8th year at Choctaw High School, and I teach intensive reading. And I got into education as a second career. I moved here about 15 years ago from Chicago, and I was reading a newspaper one day, working at a different job, and it was saying that only 15% of our African American students were reading on grade level, and only about 40% overall of all the students in Okaloosa County. And I thought that was just devastating. And if you ask my grandmother, she'll say that was always my calling. So I kind of investigated it a little bit, and through some other little things, here I am today, 8 years later. I got my master's in intensive reading, and I currently teach at Choctaw High School. For about 6 years, it was just 10th graders, but this year I teach 11th and 12th grade students who are retakers, because in the 10th grade, you're required to pass the FCAT, and if you don't pass it in 10th grade, you go into what they call a retake status. So I'm working with those kids, hopefully, to meet their graduation requirements, and we just got the scores back today, and I haven't seen them yet, so I'm a little nervous.
So what made you, like, a lot of people, when they think of teachers, like, they think it'd be a little easier, to do, elementary students or whatever. So why did you pick high school?
That's a great question. I subbed at all the levels. And I got in the car after I subbed for elementary, and I was like, and hanging on to the wheel, and it took me about 15 minutes to kind of relax, and that just wasn't working for me. And then I went to middle school, and it was okay. But when I went to high school that first day, I was like, this is it. I mean, and you can always tell, if you ask any teacher, they'll tell you it's just like that niche, and I love it. I truly do. Eight and a half years later, I'm still here.
Oh, that sounds great. And is it like kind of weird though, like walking, like I sub to myself, and so I've done high school, and the weird thing is I think half the students are taller than me, so it's a little awkward. I'm like, okay, you can listen to me, even though they don't see me or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of weird to see some of the kids that actually look like adults, like, yeah. Or is it just is it a little easier because then you can communicate with them? And
better? I do. I feel like I do. I really, in my heart, believe that I was meant to do this. And so everything comes out natural. I mean, I find kids half the time get ready to say my name, like, Miss Keisha, because I give them that feeling, and I tell them all the time. I was like, I definitely don't do it for the money, but the reason I do it is because I want you to make a difference. So if I make a difference in your life, you can make a difference in someone else's life. So and that's pretty much why I choose to do it.
That's great. Did you tell your students that you'd be on the show?
Actually, I didn't, but what's so exciting, I'm going to tell them tomorrow, because I tell them everything. And I think that's probably why I do so well in high school, because I'm so open, and I don't hide behind anything. And so when they find that out, I'm telling you now, it's going to be interesting.
They're like, what? It's like, oh, that's my teacher.
Give a shout out to Hunter McClung. No.
All right, thank you. All right, Miss Maria, how about you tell us a little bit about the school that you work for and what you do?
Okay. I work for Pryor Middle School, and I've been doing this for 4 years. Okay. But I've been in the school system for 16 years. And at first, when I started this new job, I wasn't too sure if this is what I wanted to do, because of the fact that I am bilingual, and I didn't think there was that many people out there that needed my help. But now, being in the setting I'm in, I really enjoy it. I'm able to see different cultures. Even though we all speak the same language, I realize that not everybody comprehends on the same level. And I see that in my students, and my biggest thing is to make them succeed. They come from different countries to where our students are so used to speaking English, they don't think twice, and before you know it, I'm like, they're not trying to be ugly, they're just trying to help you. And they're like, oh, okay. I have to kind of be in the middle. But I do translate for or interpret for all my students, and I help administration. I definitely help the parents from the community that come to a school and need assistance in whatever, whether it's they're at school or having problems, you know, trying to get certain help. But I look forward to some of these students really succeeding.
So what is it like, because I understand, because we talked, you know, earlier, and then you have to walk from different classes and stuff. So what is it like working with, you know, specific kids and them trying to adapt to, you know, having to learn the lesson in class? Because I think it's like an inclusion class.
It is.
So what is that exactly?
Well, I know it's very difficult for some teachers and some students for them to have me translate to the students what they're supposed to be doing, but I find that they're actually catching on in the sense that I tell them exactly what the teacher says, and they do the work just like a normal student. Sometimes they lag behind because some of these students do not come from places where they're able to go to school. I found out just a couple of weeks ago, one of my students comes from, I call it the middle of nowhere, because as far as education, they had like a one classroom school, and it was very difficult. And I see that he's very far behind, but he's really struggling to get ahead, and he's going to be just fine.
And is it hard, like, because sometimes they're actually in like a reading like intensive class, so like something that like Miss Keisha does. But the difference is, though, for them, do they actually understand reading if it was all in Spanish, or they actually are, you know, struggling either way?
I think we do them an injustice if we only let them read in Spanish. What I try to do is let them read books in English and go over as to what they're reading so they can understand exactly what they're reading. Then they can put them both together. Every day I have a lesson with my students, and I show them what's called clue words. Every single day we do at least 20 a day. And I told them at the end of the school year they should be pretty well off, you know, as far as their vocabulary. And I like when other students kind of blend in with them and try to learn their language, so they understand each other pretty much.
Well, that's awesome that they try to learn it and they try to like motivate each other, you know, with learning.
Do.
So just like a lot of the kids who, you know, who speak, you know, English as their first language, do they try to come in and try to learn Spanish too with them?
They do. They try to understand as to, I gave them an example. If you went to a foreign country, how would you feel if you did not understand what they were saying? And now they understand because they see these kids and they try to help them get to where they're at. It makes it very nice for them to understand that they have to meet each other halfway.
I think it's amazing that you two are like in this school system and you're doing so much to help, you know, with students, and I think it's making a big difference, and that's the reason why I wanted to bring you here on Insight, because I think people need to be aware of what's going on, because they don't really know exactly what's going on in the school system. They're like, okay, well, they've got it, they can handle it. But I think having like a show like this, then, you know, to actually have the community be more involved and actually possibly help, because when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about how the community can help, and also I think the big thing is parents. I know that's a lot of struggling, that people are trying to get the parents to be involved and help out. So thank you so much, and it seems like there's so much more work that we need to be doing and that we need to be doing. And when we return, we'll talk more about what you guys as a community can do to help these teachers and other teachers alike to help the students in our community. Thank you, and come back here on Insight.